Alright, we're going to read them weapon laws and the weapon descriptions. So, the nameless blade, a simple sword forged by a village smith, more suitable to fend off small animals than actual combat. Smash, smash, smash! Sweat rolling down the face of the hard, scrabbled man as he chipped away at the iron stone. Their cheerful singing echoed through the mine. We are workers, workers in the mine, dirty from tip to toe. Again today we search for iron with all our might. Smash, smash, smash. From. The sound of women stomping on the bellows in the mill, the sound of iron being ground from the scorched sands. We are workers, workers in the mill, workers who send the wind. Today we stomp the bellows again with all our might. From. Clang, clang, clang. The sound of the swordsmith wielding hammers at their forges. They ring of such a transcendent blow in a stunning indeed. We are the swordsmiths who bring blades to life, lords of steel. Clang, clang, clang. Rip, rip, rip. The sound of flesh being rent on the battlefield. The sound of killing enemies, killing someone, killing humans. Someone help me, it hurts so much. Help me, mummy. Rip, rip, rip. Lily leaf sword, a narrow sword once owned by a woman of importance and beauty that men begged begged her to take their lives. I loved him with all my heart, as he does me. When we crossed paths outdoors, he sent a signal with his eyes, and that only I could understand. He treasures my gifts so much. He keeps them locked away in a safe. Oh, I couldn't ask for a better lover. I can't believe this. My best friend deceived the love of my life and stole him from me. One moment he was there and the next he was gone. All that remains is some of my gifts, which are scattered across the empty room. Everything else of value has been sold at the marketplace. This will not stand. He has abandoned me. He has just been tricked by that woman. I know he still has feelings for me. He must. I'm far more beautiful than she is, and he knows it. Oh yes, he knows. But I must make him see the truth, and quickly. I have to get her away from him. I have to kill her. Kill. Hurry up and kill. Consumed by the madness, the woman slaughtered the young husband and wife, hacking them with such force that the blade of her sword warped. The woman then went on into hiding, leaving behind only clumps of unrecognizable meat and a sword with a horribly bent blade. But no matter how many smiths attempt to repair the sword, it's never regained its original shape. The Navarian dagger. A group of girls used the sword to cement a new temple with their own blood. The girl had been betrothed to the local lord on the day of her birth. As she grew, her days were taken up by studying proper bridal technique, while her evenings were spent staring out of her bedroom window and offering prayers for her betrothed to the night. Oh my lord, if only you would come and be a single day sooner. Her home was occupied by several other girls of her age, one of whom shared the same betrothal, and the same her day studying bridal techniques, and her evening prayers to the night. Oh Lord, if only you would come to me but a single day sooner. One day a quarrel broke out as the girls argued that only the greatest among them would become the Lord's betrothed. None would yield an inch. Each asserting only alone could possibly satisfy him. Seeing this, the caretaker said in a kind voice, "Worry not, girls. Each and every one of you shall surely become a bride of our Lord." Hearing this, everyone's face lit up in an expression of pure joy. On the day they were to be married, the girls were brought to a place of cobbled stone. They could see from the windows of their home. A single dagger was placed in front of them, and the girls were told they needed to end their lives here and now if they wished to meet their betrothed. Upon hearing this news, the girls scrambled to seize the dagger from one each other, plunging it into their chests the moment they held it. Years later, the temple named the betrothed was built upon the spot where the girls took their own lives. Moonrise. A weapon owned by a blind swordsman, the blade shines in the darkness, making its owner easy to spot. What a useless weapon. There is a legend of a long ago that speaks of a nation threatened by a great inferno. This nation, however, was saved from the eternal hellfire by a sword with the power to freeze anything around. Around the sword stood thousands of human ice sculptures. A man on a journey to seek out a weapon eventually discovered the sword. He wrapped it in several layers of cloth and took it with him. Placing it in his bag, he carried it upon his back. But before the man realized what was happening, the cloth and the sword and his own body ended up frozen solid. A traveling shrine maid and eventually discovered the sword. She offered a prayer to her god and gripped the hilt, but the cold instantly shot through her fingers and into her body, freezing her solid. In her final moments, the shrine maid unleashed the words of great blasphemy to her god who had failed her. An enslaved woman in a mine eventually discovered the sword. Desiring an easy death over continuation of her daily suffering, she grasped the weapon firmly, and while the woman did not freeze, she was unable to pierce her own flesh. Soon moonlight shone upon the blade of the weapon, reflecting the sight of the woman being beaten and dragged away by her master. What a cruel weapon. Rebirth. A unique sword with a rounded blade. Legend holds that it robs the wielder of his life force. That's right, this is here, the weapon that will be ending your life. Oh, don't sweat it, there's nothing to worry about. It'll be a pain the likes of which you have never felt before. In fact, you won't even feel pain at first. It'll be more like water shedding across your skin. Honestly, most folks, it ain't the pain that makes them scream, it's the sight of their own blood flowing out of them. Yeah, it won't end so easily. See this part of the blade right here? This part's like a real son of a bitch. Is my favourite, which is why I always save it for last. I like to use it after the people's voices get hoarse and they can't tell what they're saying, which is a real fucking hell. Are you even loud, mind popping down there? You're gonna make my hand slip. I won't kill you right away, so don't worry about a thing there, champ. I gotta take my sweet time before you finally give up the ghost. Honestly, you'll be surprised how much it takes to kill a person. I mean, think about it. People got 2 eyes, most of them anyway. 2 ears, 10 fingers, 10 toes, 20 nails across the lot. And they don't even get started on joints, cause folks got hundreds of them damn things. Yeah, we got plenty of ways to keep ourselves entertained. Huh? Why am I doing this? Now ain't that a question, buddy. I'm not doing it for doing what you've been doing for so long while now. Nabbing innocents on fake charges, torturing them and putting their severed heads on display. That ring a bell, buddy? It should, cause it was all you. Guess maybe we forgot about all that. Well, that's okay. I'll spend all the time it takes to make sure that you remember every single thing you did to my wife and daughter. Hehehehehehe. That one was weird. Earthworm's claw. Made from a fossil of an ancient beast, it is more unwieldy than most swords, but further in fortune can help. An elderly scholar sits in the dim recesses of the room of his mouldy museum. Before him lies a single box, which has long been sealed away. It is the article the museum previous creator made abundantly clear should never be opened. It is said that the box contains a fossil that drinks the blood of humans. What foolishness. One would think we as people would have outgrown such nonsense. Only someone who spends all their lives surrounded by books could possibly believe such a preposterous situation. He opens the box, which spills forth a cloud of dust, and before a single stone of bizarre shapes, looking to attach to a handle, one could easily conclude it was some manner of ceremony. However, it could also be viewed as a weapon. And what a fantastic shape. Yes, will require rigorous research indeed. How foolish everyone was to be afraid of something like this. The scholar chuckled softly to himself as he reached up and gouged out his left eye with the fossil's tip. That's gross. Blade of Treachery. When a man was lost his way of the wielding his sword, the blade became as dull as wood. The sisters were puppets of a complex machine, so fine their construct that any who laid eyes upon them would assume they were human in every way. They were the embodiment of man's greatest technology achievement. They were like humans, ate like humans, laughed like humans. The one thing they couldn't do, however, was shed tears, for they were not designed in that way. I was going to say this was Popel and Overlord, but that's not the case. Because of this, the sisters were machines. They felt nothing. Oh, they might mourn as humans did, but they experienced no true sadness, for they did not know what sadness was. Even when their friends perished in tragic accidents, and their creator died of disease, they felt nothing. To the sisters, all it meant was that the people no longer existed. It was a warm spring day when a lone cat wandered into their home. It was a scrawny and filthy thing ridden with disease. What a bother, the sisters thought as they looked down at the wretched creature. But they fed it milk, wiped it clean and kept it warm, and soon the cat was well again. From that day forth, it lingered wherever the sisters went, brushing against the legs when it wanted food. It caught mice, it would bring them back to boast of its prowess. If it wanted love, it would cry out in a meowling voice. What a bother, the sisters thought. Yeah, giving cats milk is not a good idea. Cats cannot digest milk. It will not make the cat better if you give it milk. It was a cold winter day when the cat came into the house, let out a feeble squeak and died. Time and again did the younger sister shake the cat's body. Time and again did the elder sister call out to it, but the cat neither moved nor responded. In that moment the sisters felt as though they felt some break deep inside their chests, and from that day forth they felt nothing at all. So what happens if you get cat's milk? They die. No, they don't. They just can't digest it though. Beastbane, a sword that bears a beastly motif. It is short, thin blade, and seems eager to vanish from sight. Long, long ago, in a faraway kingdom, there lived 3 brothers. The middle brother was a famous general who commanded a vast army. People everywhere were terrified of his troops, for they were the most violent indeed. This general loved to make war. He enjoyed nothing more than watching cities burn and corpses pile up, and he fought not to subjugate, but to simply destroy all that he could. His well-trained soldiers laid waste to towns, cities, and every nation for the sake of their general, and as they helped and hooked and chopped, the general would chuckle to himself in the most vulgar tone. The army marched on and on. Nations by sea, nations by mountain, nations by desert, nations by tundra, nations to the east, nations to the west. The general cared not, he simply wished to watch all burn. His orders were absolute, and for years beyond counting the soldiers killed and 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 killed. After some time the army arrived in a certain nation. They killed its soldiers, they killed its townsfolk, they killed its princess and princes, and dukes and bankers and lawyers, and accountants and beggars and thieves. Eventually, a shabby general came pleading for his life, with tears in his eyes, but they killed him as well. However, the soldiers thought he seemed familiar, and they tried to recall how they might have known him. In that moment, however, the general's daughter appeared. They became so engrossed in ending her life that they never thought about the matter again. I guess they killed the brother. Faith. A sword carried by the world's most loyal servant. Like the loyalty, the sword's blade is straight and true. I don't know, it's not that straight. There was once a famous poet in the land, to the far, far east. Now it has his twilight years, his ability to had withered, such that he could no longer craft a single stanza of verse. The poor poet spent every moment racked with sorrow for what had been lost, but one day a monk approached his side, gently placing a blade in his hand and imploring him to follow his word. Kill one by this blade for one poem, and two for two in kind, the likes of which will be most splendid than any this world has ever heard. Clinging to the monk's word, the man waited for the cover of darkness and cut down a man he encountered on the roadside. The following day he wrote the most beautiful poem instantly, recalling the fame and prosperity he had lost. The poet went on killing, two in succession. He killed one and wrote a poem, then killed again and wrote another, rising to almost dazzling levels of wealth and renown. But soon he became obsessed with knowing how splendid his poems might be if he were to kill someone precious to him. He killed his wife and wrote a poem. He killed his child and wrote a poem for each. He moved through his estate, killing everyone there, writing and writing and writing and writing. Eventually he killed so many people that the poems could not keep up. He would kill and write and kill and kill and kill, until in the end he took his own life, no longer crafting poems at all. All that remained was the blade, wet with blood. Ancient Overlord. An ancient warlord used the sword to slay the loyal subjects in hopes of gaining eternal life. There was once a royal sword passed down in the prestigious kingdom that had prospered for generations. It was said that the crystal embedded upon it contained a great magic, and should it ever absorb the blood of 10,000 people, it would grow bright red and grant its wielder immortality. However, the kingdom's final ruler, known to the world as High King, valued the continued prosperity of the kingdom he had inherited from his ancestors over the prospect of eternal life. One day, the queen, the king's dearest love, lost her life in a tragic accident. She was with child, and the tragedy occurred shortly before the babe was born. Distraught with grief upon hearing the news, the aged king found himself unable to accept the prosperity of his royal bloodline dying with him. In an attempt to continue his kingdom's legacy by attaining a body without death, the now mad High King used the sword to cut down any and all subordinates or civilians only unlucky enough to cross his path. "If I am to be the final king," he was heard to cry, "then the kingdom survives as so long as I live." He killed his subjects by the dozen, the hundreds, the thousands, and with each life he stole, the crystal grew more radiant. But when the crystal was nearly full, the king's ailed heart proved unable to bear the burden and burst, killing him on the spot. Alas, he had just slain the pregnant woman and unborn child that were before him. very eyes, he would have taken exactly 10,000 lives. Phoenix dagger, a ceremonial braid crafted from the feathers of a legendary firebird. It is untested as a weapon. There was once a woman who promised her hand to a man who was departed from the front. Devout by nature, she spent morning and afternoon and even praying for the safety of her beloved. Perhaps in response to her earnest pleas, one night a bird enveloped in light appeared to her in a dream and began to speak. "The man you love will surely return safely," said the bird in a beautiful voice. These words brought great comfort to the woman, and she began weeping tears of joy. "However," continued the bird, "his heart will surely not." Soon the man returned, as the bird foretold, his body covered in scars beyond counting. But as the bird foretold, he returned with an unfamiliar woman of extraordinary beauty at his side. Despite this, the pious woman could not contain her love for the man, and ran out to meet him as he arrived. Surprised, the man embraced her and then collapsed to the ground. The pious woman stood over him, a bloody dagger in one hand, and a ripe crimson fruit in his hand in the other. "His heart will stray no longer," she whispered, amidst the gathering pools of blood, her face washed with pure ecstasy. She placed a tender kiss on her beloved's heart and offered a prayer of gratitude. Labyrinth whisper. Forged from steel and liquidized beast fangs, this blade is red with blood of countless sacrificial offerings. So, this girl has had a huge set of horns on her, beautiful horns like a bull, just growing out of her head, above her ears. I had myself a gander at it, whether the horns met her head, and let you tell they were coming straight out of her skull. She was the only kid like that in the whole village. The others were all normal. The kid with horns, though, born real small apparently. The horns, I mean, not the kid, and hell, they wouldn't need to be. Fat chance the kid's mama would be able to push a pair of horns huge as that. Ha 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 ha. You think a girl like that would be bullied, right? Well, you'd be wrong. The kid was the hardest person for miles in any direction. Wasn't a man in the village who tangled with her. And we're talking about men who ain't scared of nothing. She was the best at doing work and what needed physical strength and all that, and she was always led the charge whenever the shades attacked. And the folks loved her for that, sure, but most of all they loved her because she was always cheerful and just plain tough. But one day, this huge shade attacked the village, and that was just too strong. It tore the men apart like old rags, and half the guys in the village died. The girl with the horns fought with all that she had, but eventually she couldn't keep up, and the shade lifted her off the ground and ripped her horns straight out of her head. The way she screamed was like nothing you've ever heard. Sound shook the earth itself, it did. After that, things got real quiet, so I stepped outside and found both the shade and the girl dead. Each of them had wounds all over them, and they were leaking blood out just about everywhere. And don't judge me for saying this now, but it was almost beautiful, like nothing, like looking at dark red flowers in full bloom, you know. Hoping that the answer to your first question about why folks in this village can't hear nothing, but you should know, none of us think badly of the girl for making us this way. Being deaf is hell of a sight better than being dead. Ha 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 ha. Anyway, we've all talked over this all that day to death, and we think that the final scream was her way of saying goodbye. Everyone in the village is honoured that the last thing we ever heard was her farewell, and that's the God's honest truth. Okay, this is taking quite a while. might split this up a little bit. Fool's Embrace. A sword created after a man driven mad by revenge sealed away a cursed dragon. I was saved from the despair that shackled me. I was freed from the fate that cursed me. I was petrified from the indignation that plagued me. I was changed by the day I met you. My flame will scorch the earth below. My fangs will know the taste of blood. My claws will rend my enemies asunder. My wings will soar the skies above. If your eyes are to be robbed of their light, if your skin is to be stained with blood, if your sword is too heavy a burden, if your lips can no longer produce speech, even if this body is snuffed out, even if these words are stolen, until our contract is complete, until this moment of warmth is lost. Metal pipe. A relic of a civilized age, its rusty scent comes from blood of all who dared oppose the wielder. May 21st. We finally ran out of money. Food just costs a lot more nowadays because of the war. We tried begging at the church, but they have their hands full of caring for the wounded and can't spare anything. Yona really lost a lot of weight. I wish I could get her something to eat. July 15th. We met a nice lady who gave us some food. At first I thought she was homeless like us, but she said she was joining some kind of relief and support thing run by the government, so we decided to go with her. At least Yona seemed to be doing okay today. August 1st. That nice lady from before used a book that turned into a monster. We ran away. Oh, the nice woman used a book and it turned into a monster. We ran away as fast as we could because we didn't think she's human anymore. Everything these adults told us was a lie. They won't give us money, they won't treat Yona's illness. Also, there's a huge wall around the city and now we can't get out. We never should have come here. August 5th. It's so cold today. I can't believe it's summer. I can actually see my breath. We decide to hide from the monsters in an abandoned supermarket. We found a few old cans of food there, but now those are gone. Also, Yona's cough just won't quit. I've got a really bad feeling about this.